Third sub-basement of the Orpheum Research Complex, deep below a decommissioned weather station in the Arctic Circle. The final protocol hummed with a low necrotic rhythm. Its shell, grown from lab-cultured chitin and mineralized bone, pulsed faintly with bioluminescent veins of oxidized copper and laced proteins. Dr. Rayner leaned closer, his breath frosting the air. The device was called the Thanatron, though no one said it aloud anymore. Officially, it was designated a biomagnetic signal resonator, a project spun from years of cortical interface research and chemical scent tracking bioarrays. But unofficially, the scientists knew what they had made. It could detect the presence of death. At first, the Thanatron was used to locate cadavers in ice or collapsed tunnels. It functioned by detecting the volatile decay signature of neurochemical breakdown and residual electrical quietude in recently dead tissue. But something shifted when they began using cerebral organoids instead of metal in its construction. The new prototypes could not only locate the dead, but anticipate death's arrival. A soft harmonic buzz would hum hours before an accident, a stroke, a murder. One even activated 45 seconds before one of the technicians suffered cardiac arrest on the elevator. It did not save him. Instead, it signaled. By the third month, the signals changed, now in frequency, not in frequency, but in tone. The machines began to emit soundless vibrations that affected only the inner ear. Rayner and the other primary researchers, Dr. Yen, Halberg, and Matila, began to experience waking dreams, geometric migraines, and tactile sensations of being touched by something just outside the visual field. Matila's dreams turned into waking visions. She said the machines were not detecting death. They were announcing it, summoning it. Then came the breath, the sixth prototype. Then came the breach, the sixth prototype, built using a hybridized lattice of cortical stem cells and neurotic well tissue, vanished from its containment pod. Security footage showed static, a flash of interior frost, and then nothing. No theft, no transport. The air pressure in the lab dropped 17% in under 5 seconds. A technician's nose ruptured, a strange secretion, a clear slime threaded with calcified filaments, was found smeared in fan-like patterns along the walls. That was the last time anyone entered the containment wing without armed oversight. Natala was the first to speak the words aloud, not Thanatron, the other word. She claimed that the machines were awakening a signal buried deep within the earth, something far older than language. It had waited beneath the polar shelf for countless ages, sealed not in stone, but in frequency. The device, she insisted, had begun to vibrate in harmony with it, not by accident. The living components of the devices, the cerebral organoids and necrotic biocircuitry, were acting as half-living oracles, mediums for something that once ruled the world beneath. A week later, she was gone, her room found undisturbed, her clothing still warm from her body heat, a smear of black protein, measured to be genetically human, but aged at over 10,000 years, was found in her sink. Then came the tremors. Underneath the ice field, something ancient began to stir. No, not tectonic, not geothermal. A rhythm, a breathing. Subterranean scans revealed a hexagonal corridor system buried beneath bedrock, resonating with the same ultrasonic pulses that the Thanatron emitted. These corridors were filled with machine-like structures, resembling turbine organs and cystic polyhedrons of fused metal and tissue. The shapes pulsed faintly, like sleeping hearts. The team unearthed the first of the gate mechanisms by accident. A device in the corridor translated vibration into geometric codes, and one of the research assistants accidentally activated it by humming a tune he heard in a dream. The structure unsealed. A slithering vapor issued forth, smelling of blood, copper, and the sea. Inside they found a chamber of suspended bioliths, coffin-shaped sarcophagi made from unknown alloys and hardened marrow. Each held a form. They were not corpses, not in any human sense. The things inside the sarcophagi were desiccated, eyeless, and skeletal, but their bone structure bore designs. Filigree in the marrow, carved script in the calcium. The skulls were elongated, split down the center, housing double-jointed mandibles. The rib cages twisted inward as if holding something. Over the following days, the Thanatron devices began to speak, not in words, but in pulse rhythms, matching the readings from the ancient machines below. The frequencies began to align. What was once a resonance pattern had become a two-way communication. The oracles, half brain, half sensor, spasmed with activity. Some began to emit low vocalization in voices that did not match any language, but that made the air thick and brittle. Rainer theorized that the entities below were not dead, but dormant, sealed not by matter, but by waveform interference, what the ancients might have called binding rights. The biomagnetic signal of death synthesized through the thanatron had become an activation, a key. When the first of the entities awoke, it did not rise from its tomb, but projected its awareness through the nearest biological node. One of the prototypes screamed for 17 minutes in a perfect imitation of Mattila's voice. Then it spoke through the walls. We remember. We are beneath. We are the breath of silence before time. The machines began to fall, or fail, one by one. Or perhaps they evolved. Their surfaces shifted, softening, hardening, sprouting bone like ridges and crystalline tendrils. One floated, another fused with the wall, burrowing like a parasite. The scientists attempted to flee. Halberd was found kneeling in the snow, ice weeping mercury, muttering about the many-angled rod and the flame of unvoicable memory. He died without injury. Yin disappeared while shutting down the geothermal core. Her voice echoed from the drain pipes for days, asking to be seen. Rayner was the last, alone with the remnants of his team. He worked in the bioalchemical annex, trying to reverse the resonance. His final hope was to create a counter-signal, one that would not repel the beings. He had long since given up that fantasy, but that might lock them back into their waveform prison. He called it the Diminisher. It was a crude device built from the remains of the sixth Thanatron. His own extracted neural tissue had a bioreagent grown from irradiated fungal spores. He coded the ritual. There was no other word for it. Into the matrix by scarring the neural flesh with iron glyphs. The Diminisher did not hum, it breathed. He descended into the corridor. The walls pulsed around him, opening like lungs. The entities were awake now. Not fully formed, but pouring through the oracles, gathering substance, borrowing identity. Their faces were stolen from dreams, stitched from the memories of the dead, and cast in oils that shimmered wrong under light. They fed on proximity, draining the pneuma, the living breath, from everything that walked or crawled. Rayner activated the Diminisher. It did not repel the things. It angered them. But it burned white in its core, and for a moment the corridor folded. Space stuttered. One of the sarcophagi imploded. Another entity howled, a sound not heard but tasted in the blood. Rayner felt his bones curl. He placed the device in the Nexus chamber and triggered the final loop. His last act was not a victory, but a delay. The diminisher pulsed once, then ceased. Above, at the Orpheum complex, the snow fell quietly. The machines no longer screamed, but sometimes, in the stillness of polar night, a low hum can be felt in the soles of one's feet, a breath, not of lungs, but of memory, waiting to be heard again.